Have you ever wished that, man, when I go to cinema to watch The Mummy, I hope they show me the remake of Exorcist instead? If that's the case, you are in luck! Because this movie, The Mummy, Lee Cronin's The Mummy is exactly that. An exorcist movie pretending to be The Mummy. This has to be the middest of the mid movie out there right now. It is not as bad as trash like The Curse of La Llorona, but it is also nowhere good as something like the first Conjuring movie. There is some good quality gore, but it is also not as good as something like The Terrifier. It also has a decent quality climax, but for that you have to sit through 2 hours and 13 minutes of runtime, making it a truly below average forgettable horror movie. When I read the name for the first time, I thought, you know what, maybe Lee Cronin is some really big indie darling and has some cult classics under his belt, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, I can see something like Greta Gerwig's The Barbie or Christopher Nolan's The Oppenheimer, because they are household names. They have made some really big box office hits. And it is nothing personally against the director. But what the hell adding Lee Cronin in front of The Mummy is gonna do, when The Mummy is far larger brand name than Lee Cronin? The words Lee Cronin's are the movie name. Like, that is the name of the movie. Tell me, how many times have you seen this type of movies? There is a family. Suddenly the kid gets possessed, usually a daughter. Initially nobody notices. But then daughter starts doing something apeshit crazy. And now that family is terrified, so they go and ask for some expert help. Then the expert comes in and they do a lot of religious chanting, prayers and whatnot in some epic finale, which removes the ghost from the kid, and now we are back to happy family. That is basically The Exorcist and 90% of the movies out there. And this movie is no different. So credit where it's due. Even though this movie is following the mentioned formula, they do try to twist it up a little bit. So first of all, the setting is in Cairo and we have this white immigrant family living there. And here, the daughter, instead of immediately getting possessed, she actually gets kidnapped by some creepy lady. And then we get a time skip, which is again very interesting because we normally don't get that many good time skips in horror movies. But it happens here. After the daughter gets kidnapped, they are unable to find her and we get like 8 years of time skip. And now the family has moved to Mexico from Cairo, which also helps director keep using that yellow filter we see in. Then in Mexico, 8 years later, the family gets a call from Egypt that, hey, we have found your daughter. So they go and they pick up the daughter and bring her back to Mexico to live with them. And now we get to the horror movie stuff. You know that now the daughter is possessed and she starts doing some spooky stuff. Basically behaving like the girl from The Exorcist, which leads to them doing some religious prayers, and that removes the ghost from the daughter, and bam, the movie's over. I am not a parent, okay? But I can imagine how terrifying it must be to lose your young child. And how amazing it must feel that 8 years later you find out that your daughter is still alive and you can live with her. Universe knows I will be through the roof with happiness. However, if that daughter looks like this when you find her, then maybe it is not a good idea to immediately introduce that daughter to your other young kids and grandma. Maybe it is not wise. Just saying. But of course, it's a horror movie, so they don't care about any of that stuff, and they immediately bring her back inside the house and pretend like, oh, it's just nothing big deal. Okay, now the stupid stuff, the best part. First of all, we have the flying daughter. So when this daughter, after being found, she enters the house, grandma is extremely happy. She's like, oh my god, my granddaughter is finally back. And she starts singing some religious prayers. However, the moment she says amen, this daughter headbutts the grandma so hard that it breaks her nose. And then she flies 2 or 3 feet up in the air. And do you know how family reacts? It's like, oh, okay, that was kind of a little bit crazy, but nothing bad. They don't get even a hint of suspicion that this daughter might be possessed. So when they find the daughter, she has really creepy long nails coming out of her, like messed up level of creepy. And pretend this is the foot, right? So when mother is trying to clip one of her nails, she ends up removing skin from here all the way to the thigh. However, the daughter does not scream at all in pain. Instead, she starts running around the house, and then she finds a knife and starts stabbing her own self into the wound while looking at her father and laughing. And again, the mother has zero suspicion that, you know what, maybe my daughter is infested with ghosts. Then, late at night, another Tom and Jerry like chase happens where daughter is just running around the house and they finally catch her. After being caught, she vomits. And that vomit is so toxic that it starts burning the floor. And this leads to a really funny argument. So finally, after all of this, the father starts to get a little bit suspicious. He's like, you know what, maybe this is not normal and it's not a good idea to keep this with my bunch of other kids. So he goes to his wife and is like, you know what, let's put our daughter in some insane asylum or some shit like that. And the mother gets offended. She's upset. She's like, you don't love my daughter. Screw you. We lost her because of you. And then the husband is like, there's like a bunch of finger pointing. And at the end, the mother says, I'm going to fix my daughter with love and care. Ma'am, your daughter headbutted the grandma so hard it broke her nose. Then she flew 3 feet up in the air. She didn't care when you ripped off skin off her entire feet. Then she stabbed herself in the same wound while laughing at your husband and later vomited something so toxic that it melted the floor. You cannot fix that with love and care. Stop putting your other kids' lives in danger, you dumb bitch. So of course the husband loses the argument and they still keep the daughter inside the house, which leads to another daughter flying in the air. Basically, it's late at night and the little girl is running around for her pee-pee run. You know, like she's really scared to go to toilet for obvious reasons. But when she's going back to her room, suddenly the ghost tries to entice her, you know. The possessed daughter is like, hey sister, come here, let's build a sandman. But this little girl is actually smart. She's like, nah bitch, you're not normal. I'm not getting close to you. So the little girl tries to run away, but the ghost lifts her up in the air and then smashes her multiple times on the locked door. All of this happens in pin drop silence in middle of the night, but not a single member of family hears anything, does anything, or nothing. And guess what? Now even this daughter is possessed. You dumb bitch. Now after all of this, the grandma still has not learned her lesson. So like a total idiot, she goes into room of the possessed daughter and starts saying bunch of crazy prayers. First of all, grandma, have you not seen The Exorcist? You're supposed to tie up the child before you start saying the prayers. Otherwise, that child will whoop your ass. And that is exactly what happens. The grandma starts saying the prayers. Of course, the ghost doesn't like it, so it beats the shit out of grandma. Like really, it punches the grandma so hard that her dentures just go flying around. Then the ghost lifts up the grandma, throws her out the window of the first floor, and the moment grandma smashes on the ground, bunch of wolves come up and they eat her alive. I'm not gonna lie, that scene was actually very entertaining. Whether intended comedy or not, I don't know, but that was actually very fun. While all of this wrestling was going around, the mom was still in the house. But of course, because it's a below average horror movie, she did not notice anything. However, she does enter the room after the grandma has already died and she's like very shocked. Don't be shocked, it is your fault, you dumb bitch. So now that the grandma has peace out, we have her funeral. And this funeral, oh my god. So remember the other daughter also got possessed? So in middle of the funeral, this is a funeral, there's a casket, there's like at least like 15-20 people, including the parents inside the very hall, right? So there in the middle of the hall, the other daughter who has been possessed starts removing her tooth one by one. And she's like, hey, this is so funny. Bam! She removes her every single teeth doing this and no one notices. Absolutely no one. Also, this jackass is on the loose. So remember that vomit, that acid vomit, which was melting the ceiling of the first floor? So this one enters through that hole and is walking all over the ceiling in the same hall, by the way, with 15, 20 people. No one notices. She walks all around that ceiling, jumps into Grandma's casket, and starts eating her dead body. It is then, it is only then, finally they notice and everything is chaos. It's like, oh my god, this is so crazy, what is happening? Poor Grandma, like she can't even catch a break even after dying. So at this point, the cat is finally out of the bag. Family realizes that our daughter is cooked and she's also cooking the entire family with her. And this is the point where the experts enter, right? So the dad first goes and asks for some professor guy, like, hey, do you know about the Egyptian history and this crazy stuff I found on my daughter? But it is so boring and forgettable, I don't even want to make fun of it, so whatever. But there's also another character. She's like a police lady. Now, this character kind of sucked in a sense that the actress who plays it has actually a very good screen presence. And if she was given good material, I think it would have been a standout role, but that's not the reality. Her character is very dumb and is overall wasted potential. However, the daughter catches the creepy lady who kidnapped the daughter, right, 8 years ago, and they find a video. Now, this is not how it happens in the movie, but I'm just trying to explain how it felt to me. So the video, which explains what happened to Katie after she was kidnapped 8 years ago, that video is basically a YouTube tutorial. So the vibe is like, hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take care of the demon that has been harassing your family for many centuries. So we have this demon, and right now we captured him inside this different dude, but the dude is kind of old and demon is trying to get out. So I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to take that demon and put it inside another body. Now for ingredients, it is preferred that you use a little girl for the best results. However, if you do not have a little girl, you can use any other human as substitute. So that was basically the video. Now the police, after finding it, immediately goes to parents like, hey guys, I have the video and I can show you what happened to Katie. And lucky us, as member of audience, we get to see the same shit twice. Once when policeman sees it and once when the family sees it. Granted, the scene with family shows a little bit more information, but still it was very repetitive and boring. And this leads to the typical climax of the movie, right? The demon is on full power mode. He's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fly up in the air. I'm gonna ruin everybody's life. And the family members are running around like, oh my god, guys, what do we do? We're so dead. Lol XD. They do a lot of Tom and Jerry chase. Now, I'm downplaying it. The actual finale is well executed. It has some really good special effects, some really good gore, the music and editing. It is all very good stuff. However, the ending is the cliche where the policeman starts saying some crazy religious prayers and that removes the demon out of daughter. But they need a vessel, right? Like the demon can only be captured inside a person. So the father goes like, you know what, I'm gonna be the sacrifice. I'm gonna capture the demon within me so my daughter can be free and my family can at least enjoy something. Now on surface, it might look like, oh, that's very noble. That is so sad. The father sacrificed. But once you start noticing like the 10,000 plot holes and an absurd level of stupidity this movie has, this just feels goofy and funny, which also leads to a really hilarious scene afterwards. So now, daughter is okay, but the father is possessed. So they lock him up inside this really big coffin. It's like a metal coffin. And the daughter is like, you know what, I'm going to talk to my dad in Morse code. Like they have the thing, like the father and daughter talk in Morse code, like tuck, 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 tuck thing. So she's like, Dad, I still love you. And I kid you not, this possessed dad from inside the coffin starts knocking in Morse code. It's like, yeah, I love you too, guys. What the fuck did I just watch? There's also a little twist at the end where we learn that, oh, that creepy lady who kidnapped the daughter, she's still alive and well. Not well, but alive. So they now take the demon from father and transfer it inside the creepy lady, completing the full circle, and now the family is truly happy. This movie, titled The Mummy, doesn't feel like The Mummy. On one hand, I appreciate that this movie tried something unique in a sense that it doesn't show you a lot of tombs, it doesn't show you pyramids at all. I think there isn't a single pyramid in this movie. It tries to avoid from cliche, like people in black robes. It doesn't have any heat waves in camera, and it also doesn't have that music. I'm gonna do some moves and you'll realize what kind of music I'm talking about. I really hope I remove that part in editing. I really hope my stupidity doesn't take over. But you know the kind of music I'm talking about, right? So it doesn't do any of those cliches and tries to show some modern areas of Cairo. However, after watching this movie, I realized that, maybe they do those cliches for a reason. Because when you remove all of them, the entire mummy vibe is gone. And it doesn't help that the plotline is also about exorcism rather than some more mummy related stuff. There isn't even that many bandage scenes. I mean, there is some bandage scenes, like creepy, gross bandage stuff, but it doesn't give you the vibe you expect from a movie titled The Mummy. First of all, it is not lazy. It might be very, very dumb at times, but man, they have tried. They tried to make this movie good. They tried to do something creative. There's also some really good quality gore, creepy stuff, and the makeup. Like, there were moments where some characters genuinely looked very terrifying in cinema. I was like, whoa, okay, that is scary. I think the stupid stuff is not that big of a deal. Horror fans are kind of used to that. But the bigger crime this movie commits is the runtime. This movie is very boring at times. Watching this movie basically was like, oh, that's crazy. Okay. Oh my god, no, Grandma, what the hell? That's basically how this movie feels, and the characters are lame. You genuinely do not care about any of them. Like, I recently saw Scream 4, and there is a throwaway side character in that movie. I cared more about her death than any of the characters in this movie. So when your movie loses to Scream 4 in terms of me emotionally caring about character deaths, it's bad. It's really bad. I was surprised to see how many people were in my cinema because I watched this movie on Friday in middle of the day, and there were at least 40 to 50 people in my cinema, which is crazy. It just shows like how much pull this The Mummy title still has on people. And trust me, everyone was there because of the mummy and creepy girl on the poster. Not a single person cared that this movie was made by Cronin. So even though I didn't enjoy it, I think this movie still has potential. Because first of all, horror fans in general, they do not care about critic reviews at all. They just live in their own different world. It's actually amazing. If you don't believe me, do you remember that Tom Cruise mummy movie that nobody I think has ever watched or no one liked who saw it? That movie made more than $400 million worldwide. So that's it. Thank you for watching. It means a lot to me. I will see you next time. Until then, goodbye, take care, and have some fun with fiction.